The second Metallica single, Screaming, is out, which pretty much gives us an understanding of what to expect from the band's upcoming studio album, 72 Seasons. The song opens with this very simple yet very catchy lick, which later on grows into the main guitar riff through a pretty cool harmonizing part between James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett. And of course it is this main theme which will follow you throughout the entire track. And with that intro, it becomes absolutely clear that just like on Lux Eterna, on their second single from the upcoming album 72 Seasons, Metallica is set to once again pay tribute to new wave of British heavy metal, yet in a slightly different way. If Lux Eterna, in my opinion, sounds like a track which could have been written for Kill 'Em All, would it have been released today in 2023? Screaming actually gives out a slightly different vibe.
Welcome to this life, born into the fight, need to claim your dream. Look you in the eye, that's a broken sky, craving dopamine.
Right, so I actually read gazillion comments online of people saying that it reminds them so much of Load Reload era. Some people even called this song fuel without aggression. Yeah. But I'll be very honest with you, I actually do not hear that. And in my opinion, this track, if anything, actually sounds like Kill 'Em All mixed with Death Magnetic more than anything else. Or even better than that, a classic new wave of British heavy metal song by one single wonder from the late 70s, which Metallica had covered for Death Magnetic. And just to be clear, that is actually a good thing.
Listen well, better listen well. Listen well, better listen well.
What actually makes this track stand out and keeps it tight is its rhythm section.
What?
With Lars's kicks, which are first of all there, and secondly are not overdone and are being inserted exactly where they are needed and in just the right amount.
Good drama. Great look. Good drama.
Good drama.
And of course Rob's bass line, which if you listen closely, and it is actually most apparent in the solo, follows James's guitar part pretty tightly, yet at the same time doesn't actually do it note for note. So in a way, Rob is like combining Ian Hill and Steve Harris here, or pretty much doing exactly what has been done on the early Metallica albums. And most importantly, I hope you're seated, but you can actually hear this in the mix.
It cannot be.
By the way guys, as always, please do not hesitate to comment on anything you hear or see in this video, and especially if you disagree with me, because the whole point of our review series is of course to start a conversation. But alright, let's continue. Overall, the song structure may seem very simple to some, yet at the same time it does have several modulations which actually allow to give this somewhat upbeat riff a very dark undertone to match the overall lyrical line and message of this track, which are in addition perfectly matched by James Hetfield's rusty vocals.
Keep me inside, my name is suicide.
Overall, I gotta say that it kinda amazes me how James Hetfield's voice these days, first of all, is in great shape, and secondly, is able to transform so much from song to song. For example, if James would give out this type of vocals on Lux Eterna, that song would have sounded much heavier than it was, but at the same time would have lost that new wave of British heavy metal fun and catchiness it had. But at the same time, on this track, on which they explore much deeper and much darker thoughts, this type of rusty vocals which James Hetfield gives out only enhances this powerful message. By the way, speaking about the message, on this one, James Hetfield, of course, once again explores this concept of suicide and just overall getting lost in your thoughts of self-worth and so on and so forth. And just by looking at people's response online and seeing how many people were actually able to connect to the message portrayed by this track on a personal level, makes me actually think that, you know what, it doesn't actually even matter whether I or you like this song. If Screaming message was able to help somebody, at least one person, battle their inner demons and possibly even avert a terrible tragedy, then this whole job, all the efforts Metallica has put into this song, were definitely not in vain.
Keep me inside, screaming suicide.
Overall, I have to say that No. Screaming That is not the strongest track Metallica has ever put out, yet at the same time I totally enjoyed it, and it is pretty much exactly what I have expected from the band on their 42nd year of existence. And in my opinion, this song actually does exactly what it is supposed to, as it saves the fans' anticipation for the upcoming record, giving the fans just enough to keep the hype going.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I have to say that the first time I heard this track, I was actually rather underwhelmed. And I'm not even 100% sure why exactly. I think it was because I felt like this song was somewhat overstretched. And so hear me out. The reason why I did not release this episode yesterday was because I spent time shortening it to like 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And just for fun, I'll leave the link to the edited version in the pinned comments. But the more I listened to this song, the more it actually grew on me. As with every listen, I started to discover those little parts and bits which I hadn't heard initially, eventually making me understand why this structure has been chosen for the song. But still, check out the abridged version, it's a fun one.
Listen well, better listen well.
And by the way, I know that many people have complained about Kirk Hammett's solo once again.
Nothing new.
And you know what, I may even agree with some of them when it comes to the first single, Lux Eterna, but in this case, I actually think that less is more. And in case of Screaming Suicide, Kirk's solo actually does exactly what it is supposed to do, without actually dragging too much attention to it, and thus allowing another part of the track to become the centerpiece of this song.
My lying voice inside keeps drinking cyanide, and no more can you run into the sun.
But just to be clear, I still truly hope that at least on one song on the upcoming album, Kirk Hammett will show why he's called the Ripper. But anyways, what do you guys personally think about Screaming Suicide, and are you excited about 72 Seasons? Because I actually am, as 2 songs in, this album shapes up to have very strong new wave of British heavy metal influences combined with classic thrash metal, yet at the same time has this very modern sound. And I think that everyone knows how much of a new wave of British heavy metal fan I am. And by the way, if you did not know that fact and it is your first time on the Metal Pilgrim channel, please do not hesitate to subscribe and join our amazing metal community we're building here.
It's family.
As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. Please do not forget that the war in Ukraine is still going on and there are people dying here every day, so please continue supporting my country in any way you possibly can. We will prevail. Slava Ukraini!